Okay, let me share my screen. Good. All right. So it seems like most of you guys are here actually did the homework, and some of you guys wrote the test yourself. Some of you guys wrote the test through the code gen, and then you're still able to, type it in terms of the locators and still make it work. The whole goal of the homework was to not only write the test, but also know exactly what the test is doing and kind of read the test. Today we're going to talk about few things. One is the test optimization. How can we optimize this test? And then we're going to also talk about page object pattern. So let's first talk about test optimization. What does that mean? When we talk about any sort of optimization, we try to be as efficient as we can be, right? So for example, let's say my test case goes through a flow, right? For example, if I go into request a code, okay, so this is the page that it goes through, and I am able to select like auto insurance, maybe boat insurance, condo insurance. But to get to this page, it requires 2 to 3 line of code. Okay. Um, so now if I was to automate every single application, should I be retyping, copying and pasting those 2 to 3 lines for every single one? Or should I be putting this code somewhere so that way we can just call it, right? We can just call something somewhere from that place to to at least get to this location, and then we can move forward, right? So that will be the optimization, because again, if you are following the same flow and we have maybe like 18 to 20 different test cases, or maybe like in this case it's gonna be 1,000, we're not gonna write this 3 line of code for every single test cases. We're gonna write it somewhere, we're gonna place it somewhere, we're gonna then go ahead and call it whenever we need it. Okay. Now the question would be, if you guys know what is the method and function. So we're gonna create our own custom functions in order for us to make that kind of thing happen. So let's talk about methods, right? What is the method? Maybe I'm gonna Google it and then kind of give you guys a better good definition. Method in, like, let's say JS. Okay. The JavaScript method are action that can be performed on object. A JavaScript method is a property that contains a function definition, right? So let's go and say what is a function, because again, like what is a function in programming? Maybe that's better in general. A function is a subsequence program instruction that performs a specific task, okay? Each function, they do something for you, and you store them in place, right, into your repository somewhere here. So that way you can call it when you need it, okay? And so we're going to be creating functions in order to optimize our test case. So when there is a time for us to update our test case because developers change something on the application, it will not be 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or 4 weeks. It will be 2 to 3 minutes, and we're going to be able to make those change. We also will make sure that we're not repeating ourselves, okay? So for example, if you wrote a test, right, and it has these 2 lines, and then at some point somewhere else you're writing another test and you need these 2 lines, you're not going to go ahead and copy and paste it. You're going to see what is common. You're going to then take this away from here, give it a nice name, and then call it. Okay. And so again, it's do not repeat yourself, which is, let me see, what is the term for in programming? Okay, page object, that's the. So do not repeat yourself again. In order for me to explain that, we're gonna have to think about page object model or page object pattern. Okay. So now what is page object? So we already know what function is and how we will do the optimization, test optimization, right? Any question about the optimization? Okay, so everybody understands. That's great. So now the test, at least for our case, obviously developers actually use these patterns also to make them more efficient. Now, page object model is known as POM. It is a design pattern. Okay, it's a Selenium, so we're gonna say Playwright that creates an object repository for storing all web elements. Okay, so we're gonna be creating an object repository for storing all web elements. It will help to reduce duplicate and improve test case maintenance in the page object model, right? So we're not gonna follow the exact page object model. We're gonna follow our own. I'm gonna customize that for us. And we're gonna follow the pattern. We're not gonna follow the full-blown page object model the way that Selenium does, but I'm gonna basically customize it to the point where it will still be more efficient on maintenance of our test case. Okay. One of the biggest challenge for automation guys, meaning like you, when you join a company and you have hundreds of test cases, one of the biggest challenge is to maintain existing test cases, and those test cases should work at all time. And the reason why they should work all the time, because when the application doesn't work or there is an issue in the application, your test should come and tell you like, hey, this test failed because the app has this, and this issue. So your test case should be able to catch those issues. Let's say you spend months and months and months on companies' money and resources to create thousands of test cases. And now they ask you to run the test case and they're not running. Or you're not going to be able to run it on time because the release is in the next 2 days. And now your test automation needs 2 weeks to fix because it's not running because the application also changed. So then what is the reason of even spending the money to create the test automation? There is no reason because now every time there is an application change, you're not able to, quickly jump in and provide them with your results of the test automation, right? And that is because, again, maintenance, guys, maintenance of the test automation. You wrote all these test cases, all of a sudden, every single test cases are not working because something changed. You have to go through each and every single test case. You have to run it. Even if each test case takes 5 minutes, you can multiply that by your, thousands of test cases. Maybe you wrote 2,300 test cases, for example. Maybe 2,000 test cases, Even 1,000 test cases still going to take you more than a couple of weeks to just get them fixed, right? So that's when you're going to be seeing disappointed faces of your managers because now you're going to say, okay, I'm sorry, but the test automation needs 2 weeks. So we cannot release until the next 2 weeks. So obviously you're not going to compromise and say, okay, everything is working and thinking that later I'll fix those. You never want to do that. But then you'll have to tell them the truth. You'll have to be transparent on the day one. Otherwise, you're going to be spending all this time and last minute, you're going to say, we only ran 10% of the test cases because all of my test cases are failing. Okay. So, and the reason why this is going to happen and it's going to take long time for maintenance is because you're not using a design pattern of your test automation. You're not following a specific pattern. You're not making it easy for you. Okay. You're not having your program to do the work for you. Rather, you're creating this flat file. Okay. These things are flat files. Okay. This is good for a small project. This is fine if you have like 20 test cases and you're running it. It's okay. You can go through 20 test cases and update them as you need. It's not a problem. So, but when you have thousands of test cases, then this is not good at all. Okay. These test cases are pretty much flat. Everything is in one place. And there is no reusability of any of the code that you wrote, right? So that's why we're going to add reusability to optimize our test cases. We're going to take some ideas from page object model to follow the page object pattern for our design. And our coding standard moving forward will be, something that I'll describe when we go through the page object model. So every developer will support that idea. If you wrote this test case and you went to the developer, they will tell you exactly what I'm telling you right now. They're just gonna be like, oh, I'm concerned that, you're writing everything in the same place. There is no reusability. That's when they're gonna look at you like, okay, wait a minute, because these things that you guys just wrote is basic. This test that you wrote, it's fine until it's not fine, right? Anybody can come and throw you off. Like, oh, no, I see the test cases, but this is not the way we want to code. This is not the way we want to go about, right? And even if you wrote one test case, they will still come and tell you like, okay, I don't see any design pattern. I don't see efficiency. I don't see, any way you're reusing anything, right? Your test case will be hard to maintain, right? So these are the questions that they will ask you, even though you feel like you achieved something, you wrote some test cases and you did something, your coworkers are gonna ask you those questions. You could be demoing on your first day or like first week after writing 10, 15 test cases. They're gonna be happy that you were able to do that so quickly, but they're gonna say, okay, hey, I just wanna say that this is, this is good, but this is not the way that we want to code, right? And so that's why we're going to have to think about optimization in a real world field. When you are writing automated tests, this is only acceptable when you have like literally 10, 15, 20, 30 test cases. So rules of thumb, if you have less than 50 test cases, this is fine. This is fine because you want to quickly jump and go ahead and write some test cases. That's not a problem. But then when you have more than 100, this is not fine, right? But if you go to a developer and say, hey, can you check my code? They're going to tell you, even if you wrote one test case, that this is not fine, right? Because this is not the pattern that you want to follow. Okay. So with that said, we're going to go ahead and implement a page object pattern. And the first thing that I want to describe is that we will create a new folder, right? And again, like, okay, let's talk about page object pattern a little bit more because I want to make sure that in Playwright, okay. Page object model, boom, boom, boom. Okay, there we go. It does support page object pattern as well. So let's get started. Okay. Okay, so Playwright has its own page object model, right? And so large test suite, as I said, can be structured to optimize ease of authoring and maintenance, right? That the whole focus is actually optimization and maintenance. The reason we want to optimize is because we want to make sure the test is easy to maintain. Page object model are such approach to structure your test suite. A page object represents a part of your web application. So the way that, okay, I guess reading is not going to help. The way that we want to do is that if you have, let's say, login page, on the login page, we're going to create 3 files. One file will contain the locators, only locators. We're going to create a second file where we're going to make all those actions, whatever we want to do, right? And the third file is going to be your test file. Okay, not just a single test file. It's going to be 3 files per page. So for login, if you have 30 test cases, all 30 test cases, the locators will be into that page. And your methods also going to be in that page as well. So the built-in Playwright page object, as you can see, is that now the test looks different. It's no longer the same as the recording, as you can see, right? We got the get started link, and you have a piece of code that you're assigned to, and now you're able to go ahead and use that later, right? Somewhere else. I'm gonna actually take the idea from Selenium a little bit and go in a different approach and not create this kind of constructor. I feel like we can do a little bit better job than they have in built-in. And obviously we can cover built-in as well, what the Playwright has. So now, before we move in, right? To give you an idea about this test case, right? So notice that we have locators, link with a name, link with a name. H1 has a text, right? So the idea is going to be all of this is going to move into two different files. One file will contain, you know, the locators, and the other file will contain the action. For example, click, fill in, click, right? And then we're going to be calling those methods here instead of, go ahead and have everything in the same place. So we'll probably like start with this test and start cleaning it up a little bit, and then we'll start seeing the difference. I'm gonna take 1 minute quickly, a break, and then I'll be back, guys, okay? All right, guys, I'm back. Okay, any confusion, guys? This is the time to speak up before I dive into code. You guys understood what we talked about?
Someone wrote in the
So,
WhatsApp chat that they missed something.
Okay, let me read. I missed it. For a second, okay. I mean, I can probably draw something on the screen to give you guys an idea.
so basically, a page object model is, when you write test cases, like the recorder write all the test cases for us, right? We just create the elements on the web application. But the page object model basically does, it will help. We will have to create a way to organize our test cases. That's what it does mean.
Right. So that's optimization of the test cases. So let's talk about it. So let's say you are automating, like you're writing some test case for login page, right? And if you're doing that, then you're gonna need 3 files. Number one, file is for locator. Okay, so I'm gonna just put L in here, and you're gonna need another file where you're gonna do some action. So let's see, maybe I'm just gonna say A. Okay, and then you have remember your folder called test. Okay, these probably belong to another folder we're gonna create. So let's say this is gonna call P page object, right? PO, right? And this is your test. Everybody has this folder, okay? Test, right? In here, you're creating your test spec file, right? So in here, you have your locator, which will be used in your action class, right? So in your action file. So you, since you already know the locator, you know exactly what to do with them, right? And then whatever you're doing there, you can then call it here to your actual test, right? Now you're gonna say, okay, why we're going down the hill and going back and too many going back and forth, right? What is the reason this might be more harder than even doing what we are doing? Is that, if that is in your mind, then I can clear that up, right? So let's say you got locators, like 100 locators here, right? And you're doing multiple things. It's not just writing, you're also reading, you're also verifying things, right? So now these locators, you don't have to write again and again and again. You just call whichever locator you need, right? So you're not pasting, copy and pasting locators, because your locators in one place, you can just call the name of the locator here in order to do whatever you want to do, right? So you're not really duplicating locators ever because of that, okay? Then you have your action. So for example, you want to click on something, you already have the locators and you use that to click on something. Now, let's say you're on your test and you need to click on something. You just basically click on it and then you call it whatever you want to do, but then you may want to maybe write something on the same element before clicking, right? So you can still go ahead and call the element and do another, action. So you don't have to duplicate the code. What you are doing is you're basically copying and pasting the method name rather than the code itself. And because of that, when the time comes for you to update your test, you're not going to touch it here. This file you're not going to touch. It's going to work as long as you update here, because that's where the code is. As long as you update here, that's where the locator is. So your test is going to be untouched. Now you have, let's say, 2,300 test cases. Maybe like, okay, I'll give it 3,000, right? 3K test cases that you're not touching, but you're only touching few files. It could be like 5 or 6 files for locators, 5 or 6 files for your action. And now you updated all the 300, 3,000 test cases, right? Does it ring any bell in your head? Like, think about it. You're keeping the code separately from the test, right? This actually introduces code reusability, and it improves the maintainability of your tests rather than going through each and every single test. Okay, so maybe we do it, you'll understand a little bit better. I hope this was, a little bit helpful to visualize. So now I'm gonna go ahead and create so as you can see, how do you know which file folder belongs to, what? So this is the test, these are all your tests. I'm gonna just go ahead and put it outside of the test. So you see test results, Playwright report. I'm just gonna put it in the same level, right? So this is test has things inside of it. So I'm just gonna put it in the same exact directory, okay, as test. Test directory is basically inside of, test is actually inside of what? Learn automation. So I'm gonna click on learn automation so I can be at the right directory, not here. I don't wanna be inside, okay? So I'm gonna create a folder first, okay, new folder. Okay, it went inside, so I'm gonna take it out after that. So keep that in mind. I'm gonna give a name, okay, page objects, okay, and then obviously the name can be whatever, right? I'm just giving a related name for now, so that way, and I'm gonna just do the move. It's now outside, okay? It shouldn't be inside of test, right? So now in the page object, if I was to clean up this test that I have to be very, very much related to what I'm doing. I'm working with a insurance website, and this one is dealing with the request a code, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to now, for request a code screen, I'm going to go ahead and create 2 files, okay? Before I create 2 files, I'm going to actually create 2 different folders inside of it, okay? So number 1 folder is going to be locators. Okay, and number 2 is gonna be maybe objects, I don't know. Right? Or custom methods, I don't know, like, or actions, you know what? Like, I'll go with actions. Okay, and keep in mind, everything that I'm doing is just based on my preference on the naming. Somebody else can name something else, so you have to be very, when you join a company and they have the framework already, these names may not match, right? Okay, so now that we have two empty folder, okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and on the locators folder, I'm gonna create a file for locators. So the first thing I'm gonna do a file name, and I'm gonna say, this is action, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and create this. If I request a code page .js, okay? So this action is for request a code page, and then we have the locator, which I need to create a new file. Okay, so it's gonna be, and I'm gonna have to put that inside because like locator, what's going on with the locator? Okay, not even, oh, because it's empty, maybe it's not showing, but okay. I'm gonna go ahead and create a new file, and I'm gonna go ahead and call, same thing, request a code locators, okay, page locators, right? So page, I can say locators, I'm just gonna put the word locators in here so nobody gets confused. And normally we just keep the same name because they're, LOC locators.js, and then it should be inside of locator actually. Did I mess up with the folder structure? Maybe I did. I'm gonna go ahead and I don't understand what's going on with the revealing finder. I'm gonna just quickly check. You got the locator inside of page object. Okay, and then action has, oh, okay, I see what happened. So the action has to be inside of action folder. Okay, move. All right, and then locator has to be inside of locator folder. What's going on? Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and delete the locator folder and then create it again because I'm getting some issue here. So as you can see, we got the action has it, and then, oh, okay. So this is what happened. I messed up, right? So I'm gonna have to take out the action and put it into page object folder, because you know what I did? I put the action inside of locators. So when you later follow, try this to make sure that the folder page object has two more folders and they're independent in the same exact directory. And now you will be able to put the, so this one is request a code page for locators. This guy actually should be in the locators. Move, and then this guy should be in the action. And then move. Okay. So just to have separate names, I put it, but it's not necessary to have different names. It could be the same name, and it should be the same name actually, because locators folders will only contain locators. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and rename it, guys, just to be precise, and just keep that in mind. And whichever application you're working with, it'll be the same. Okay, so I will remove that and this exact same name. Okay, so you see, they are same names. So now, okay, let me remove this HTML file there. Now let's create some locators. The first thing first, when we create locators, we need to, create some exports. We have to export the locators also. So const, you're gonna start with const. You're gonna say, what is this? Request a code page locator. So you can say REQ. You can actually shorten up to if you want to. So I can say code page locators, and I'm just giving whatever name, but typically, if you ask me what is the name that it should actually have, it should have the exact same name of the file. Okay, so I'm gonna say REQ is request a code, you see, page. Okay, the same exact name. And then your question could be like, oh, wait a minute, then why is it working? Because it shouldn't be working if it's the same name. But then they're in two different directories, right? Two different folders. So we're fine with it, right? And there are two different types of materials you're going to put into these files. Okay, so that's why. So now that you have it, now we can define our locators. Before we define our locators, we want to do export, right? Module export, because we want to be able to call this somewhere. Notice if I type it, it's gonna be giving me the exact syntax that I need in order to do these exports. Now that I can export, so let's look at my test and bring in the locators here, okay? And so let's go ahead and this is the first test. So I know that my locators is this guy. I'm gonna take this, copy this, basically. This is for, okay, this is a scroll body. So I can name the locator naming, you'll have to name it the way you see it, right? So scroll body is the locator. I'm gonna go back to my locator page and I'm gonna say the first one. Scroll body, for example, is equal to single quote and this. Okay, so I got the locator and now I can add more locators as I need. So this is not going to be equal. Actually, this is going to be in this format. Okay, so I got the first locator here. And let's go ahead and look at the test real quick before we jump in. So we just did one, okay? So now in this case, what we're doing is wait for. So I'm going to take this whole code from here and I'm going to basically have a method, right? So the next one is the action where we create the method, okay? So request a code action, go back in here. We're going to go ahead and say we would like to be able to use the locators, okay? So I can say something like this const in order for me to get my locator that I need. I can say maybe I can give a new name at this moment if I want to. I can keep the same name if I want to, right? So I can say request a code page locator, okay, and equal to require, okay, or this is how you will be able to call everything that you know. And if I do a tab, obviously it's typing it for me because it knows what I'm trying to do. So this is what we just did is basically we're just calling this guy. Notice the resources. So what fill in automatically is that it thinks that we named a folder called resources, but we didn't. So how do I change this? I'm gonna go ahead and change the path. I'm gonna go ahead and remove this, okay? And I'm gonna go back. The locators are here. So I'm gonna go ahead and copy the relative path, okay? And I'm gonna go ahead and paste it here, and I'm gonna test my way out, right? So like if I right click in here, and let's see, how do I know if it works, right? If I right click, go to definition, and it opens empty, look, the editor could not open because the file was not found. So it's not gonna work. We have to make sure the file is found. In this case, we can simply just change the resources to action, right? Sorry, not action, locator. Right, but we copied the relative path. So let's do that. Let's start by doing that, you know, so that way nobody's confused. So you see, notice it's automatically giving me the code that I need. So now if I go ahead and right click and go to definition, it still didn't go to that page. That means it still didn't work. So I think I don't need this extra dot because we're only one file down. Okay, we're in the same level. Okay, so let's go ahead and click on definition. It still didn't work. So let's see when I copied it actually, what was it saying? So again, this path you'll have to. So we see it's inside of page object locators and this. So we see it missed the page object. Okay, so I'm gonna have to copy this. I'm gonna paste it here. And then we got the new location, but then still, let's see if it does work. If I go to definition, boom, no, it didn't. It didn't find it, so I'm gonna put the double dot. The reason why we put this is because, you know, request the code page locator. Okay, no. Okay, let's start from the here because it should be able to give me the rest of it automatically. Okay, so we don't have the word. So we see it's trying to look for the exact file name because what we tried, right? So we don't have that. So right after the, you see, right after I put the slash, it tells me you have two options. What do you want? We want the locators. And then if I do a slash, it tells me what do you want? And I want this. That's it, not the locator, okay? So now if I go to the definition, sorry, in our page, you see it actually tells me that I'm here, right? Okay, so that's the first thing that we did in our action class to make sure that we are able to call a locator if we put it somewhere else, okay? The second thing that we need to, we still need the page because again, page is global, right? From Playwright, so you're gonna have to say page here. So if you're gonna be able to use page, and then I'm gonna say equal to require, and it's coming from Playwright, so we don't have to like look for location, and that's it. Okay, so page means this, and that's it. Okay. So now we're gonna create, the next thing we're gonna do is that we're gonna create class, okay? And then you see request a page, okay. We're gonna go ahead and complete the class right there. So we created a class. Instead of class, we're gonna create a constructor. If you don't understand up until now, I would say, just go with it, and it's always gonna be the same pattern no matter where you go. So you just have to learn how to create a constructor and class, and you should still be able to run with it if you don't understand, but we'll go over this in a minute. So now finally we're ready. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead, and the first thing, that first action that I want to do, and it's typing it ahead of me before I even want to type anything because I have a copilot on my IDE. So let's see the first thing. Now I'm gonna go back to my task and see what I'm doing. The very first thing. Let's start from cleaning it up, right? None of these codes should be here. It should be over there in the action. The first thing is this. We're going in there, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and copy this line. I'm gonna go back to my action and I'm gonna say async, and I'm just gonna say visit home page or something, right? You just name as you go, like whatever you think is the name should be, and that's it. And now that's it, right? This is what I copied it from there, and we have it. So it just goes into the home page. That's the first line we converted. So as you can see right here, so we're gonna take that from the test. This is the base URL that is going to, so we no longer need this line here anymore. But in order for us to call what we just did, we need to pull we have to basically say where we're getting it from, right? So I'm gonna say const, and I'm gonna go ahead and say it's coming from requested code, whatever page, right? Requested code page is equal to what? Maybe require, and then I'm gonna go with the dot dash page object. We're gonna get the action this time, okay? We're supposed to call action here, okay? And then request a page and done, okay? So everything that belongs to request a code page action, we now have access to, okay? So if I go back to the action, we're not exporting anything just yet, so we have to export so that way we can get the access. So I'm gonna say module. Okay, module export, and that's it, right? So now it will allow us to call whatever we need to call, right? So then the very first thing, I'm gonna remove this line we no longer need because it's part of the code. We don't need this whole line. It's also part of the code, okay? So in order for us to visit, all I have to say, await, okay? Sorry, not await, we're gonna say, oh yeah, this guy right here, the await is already there on the other side. So I'm gonna copy this, Okay, so control. So not everywhere you're gonna use await, and I think so. We're gonna talk about those. But let's do it like this. So await is not necessary at this moment, but I will put it anyway, and then we'll probably go ahead and you know, um, so remember the method visit. So all I'm doing is I'm saying await, okay, request a code, and then visit the homepage. That's all I'm doing. Okay. So now I do have another locator that I can actually do. So I want to wait for this. I'm gonna copy and take this code out of here. Okay. And then go ahead and create an action of it somewhere else. So we can call that. So we can start with these two lines. So we know we get some. Okay. So I think wait for maybe page load. I mean, I gotta change the name of this, obviously. So notice it already like, typing it in for me because this is the locator it's coming from. Scroll by is the locator actually coming from request locator. Okay. You guys understood, or let me type everything from scratch because this thing is typing it ahead of my thinking, right? So, okay, we got the same exact code, right? So in this case, this locator, we don't need it from here because again, this locator, we placed it somewhere else and it's coming from this location. So I'm gonna go ahead and copy this and I'm gonna go ahead and say, oh, one second. I'm gonna go ahead and copy, Control C, Control, oh, what am I doing? Command C, not that. I'm on Mac. Okay, so then here, and if I do a dot, it's gonna tell me locators, what else I have available to use, right? So I will do that. So now that I call the locator and he's just waiting for, and that's it. Instead of saying waiting for page load, I'll say waiting for maybe like scroll body, whatever. Okay, so we created a new one that will actually wait for. And at this point, because remember this dot page, it will be a little bit different here. We cannot just simply say this, okay? So this dot page should be the way to go because it's a constructor. And now that we are at this point, I go back to my test. Very first test, we realize that we remove those two lines and I can say await and same thing. And there we go, right? So we have very clean two lines to do something, right? So these are the custom methods. So we just, more work to do, clean up, right? Clean up below. So we're gonna clean up these also just like that, right? But for now, this is how our test looks like as of right now. Okay. Any questions? And then maybe we're not gonna have to call the page here anymore, right? Because all these page calls are gonna be somewhere else, right? We no longer have to call it here. Any question, guys? You see the relationship here between the test and these three files. As you go and you have another test case for another feature, you can actually divide them by feature also and put them into separate, they will all have their own, files based on different features. So let me just go ahead and run this real quick and then we will, let me open up the UI real fast. Okay, this was for the very first test to make sure it works. I'm not 100% sure it's gonna work because we're mixing we're not going directly built in with the. Okay, there we go. And let's see what happened. We're gonna have to, okay, let's run it real fast. So one second, my computer is super slow. Okay, so it says, because the visit homepage is not a function. That's what it's saying. Okay. Type error. So it didn't really understand where the visit homepage is coming from. So one second, let me just.
Is this because when you export, it was a capital, a lowercase and uppercase issue?
Could be. Let me see. Let's see. That's not it. Request
It's under action.
copy. Oh, okay. Request is starting with uppercase. Okay. That could be the reason. But let me copy this. I'm gonna go back to my test, and we also have to think about the page instance. So we see the lowercase right here. And okay, this is just us naming it, so it shouldn't be a problem. Let's see, go to definition, and it cannot find definition, right? So that's where the problem is. So we
Maybe you
wanna make
didn't put
sure.
the spec when you create a file, spec.js,
Which file?
when you create action and locators, when you
Yeah,
create.
those are not tests, right? Those are the things that we use in our tests, which is right here. We're using. True. Okay, let me just go ahead and.
Is it okay? Can go to that action page? I just want to see because I'm kind of behind.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank
Okay.
you.
This is how the action page looks like. Where is the error message? Okay. Okay, we just didn't. Okay, I see what happened there. We didn't create the instance. So whenever we call a class, because remember the this is a class, right? We created a class. We have to create that. We have to actually create the instance of the class in order for us to call anything from it. Okay, that's where that we fall short. So let me go ahead and do that real fast. So here I can say maybe another one, which is const. And I can say like request. I'm going to start with the uppercase this time, request a code page. So we have one lowercase and we have one uppercase, okay? And then is equal to new, right? And I can say something like this, request a, right? So in this case, I'll have to take the uppercase one, right? Because it's actually using, so we're basically just created an instance of the class. And let's see if it actually finds it. If it does, then we should be able to, oh, there we go. It does find it. Perfect. So now the next issue could be like page related, which we will fix as we go. But let's go ahead and run it to see what happens. So I'm going to go back in here since we made the change. I'll go ahead and run it real fast. Let's see what just happened in this case. Oh, this is not the right test, is it? Okay, your page is not defined. Okay, there we go. Exactly what I suspected. Page is not defined. And that's where we are stuck now. So, 1 second. Okay, that makes total sense because page is already, okay. I'm gonna show you guys real quick. So you see the page is here, right? And we need to basically call this inside. That's what happened. That's gonna be that. Let me fix everything real quick. A L or if you right click and you go to format document, it should fix your test. Okay, so let me go back in here. Let's see now that we, okay, so we see something, okay. It did go to the website, okay, and then it says now the reference, so we just have to see what is going on here. Await page scroll by to contain, right? So obviously the this needs to be moved, right? Because scroll by no longer here, right? The method. So far you guys are good. So far we all good with what's happening. Any question? You see how clean the test looks like? Okay. So now this should be inside of the actual, you know, see the wait for scroll by. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this line and put it over there. So that way it's inside of this same. So I'm gonna go definition inside, wait for, and we're just putting an expectation, scroll by. So this is your scroll by method right here, and that's it. Okay. Any question, guys? Everybody's good, because I'm gonna give you guys classwork. And
So-
I'm gonna do some
So
cleanup
Joe,
after.
the way you fixed it, you just formatted it or like,
No. The way I fixed it is because remember, when you are cleaning up your task, you miss something. Like I'm probably not gonna be the person who memorize everything or remember everything. So when I was moving things around, I missed few things. Like for example, this guy was outside of the the test. The problem with that is that we calling the page instance right here, and if we call it outside, it has no access to the page. That was the problem, right? So that's why we had to create the instance of the class in order for us to be able to have access to all the action method that we created. Okay, so there's two action methods we created. Now let's say one thing, right? Because this is verifying your contacts us page. So there is no reason for us to put line by line. The whole thing verifies the contacts us page. So what if we just create a method that does all of that, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and cut, okay? And I'm gonna go inside of my action, right? I'm gonna go to the action file and I'm gonna say, go ahead and verify this. So async verify contact us link, right? I'm gonna go ahead and paste all of my code. Okay, so far so good. And I think we're missing a closing here somewhere. Another, okay, there we go. So this one belongs to this guy. And this one belongs to the overall the class, right? So just I put it into two different indentations so we know exactly where. Okay, there we go. Okay, so now we put all the code. This method is actually verifies that the all the contact us related in the page. Notice the locator. We have address, main, and H1. So those I can move. What if I need the main again later, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and copy this locator, right? I'm gonna go ahead and put it into that, and it's gonna look like you're doing over the main is equal to main, right? And then we got the H1 is equal to okay. So now that's another locator that we brought in here. I'm gonna go back to my action. I'm gonna replace the main ID with the locator. So remember, this guy has it now. We moved it over there. So all I have to do is call that, and I'm just gonna put dot, and then there is a main, okay? And that's how I called it. I can do the same thing, address and H1, okay? So now, and I can also do that with the text as well if I need to and move it somewhere else. Okay, so just this is another locator for address, Control C. Actually, I'm gonna move that out of here. I'm gonna go to the locator and I'm gonna then say address. Oh. 1 second, Control V. Oh, I didn't copy the right one. Okay, so that's address, should be address. Okay, address is a class, seems like, but Playwright can work without it. So we remove that dot front of it because that's how we want to keep. And I will go ahead and go back to the action. Now we no longer have to put the address here. We can just say, request a code locator and then dot, and it will give me access to address. And we can do the same with H1 and other things. So you get the idea. The idea is that locator shouldn't be here at all, and it should be in the locator class. Okay. And then any like page related, like whatever you're doing, all the action should be here. So now all I have to do is copy this guy if I want to, or I don't even have to copy it. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna say now something like this. Await or request this and verify and done. So before and after look, what do you think in terms of your opinion? What do you think about this? Do you think this is much more better, cleaner, or do you think
I
this
think
is
it's
gonna help
better.
you?
Yeah, it's better, but in real-time project, so that's how you actually is going to perform, right?
Exactly. In real time, whenever you're writing code, whether you're writing code for test automation or you're writing code for an actual application, you're gonna have to follow a pattern, design pattern. And I'm showing you guys a design pattern that is page object pattern at this moment, right? So we're following page by page. For each page that we're dealing with, right, or for each feature that we're dealing with, we create them 3 files. Because the reason why we create 3 files is because one feature may have 20, even 200 test cases, right? So we just nice and neat. So what if you have a feature or a page that only have 2 or 3 locators? Then you don't need to create an extra one. You can probably just, use something like common one, right? So locators, you can just say new file, common, right? So common.js, all the common locators throughout the application will be here. Action, same thing. You're gonna say common. You're gonna have a lot of common things, right? So you're gonna have common. So as you can see, you're gonna go ahead and put all the common stuff here on this too. So that we
But
can
first to
still.
first, you have to have like a test cases like, so you had the test cases, right? And you copied.
So you guys have 20. Everybody should have 20 test cases right now.
Right.
Okay. If you have 20 test cases, guess what's gonna be the homework? It's gonna be you cleaning up your tests and optimizing them. And you're gonna have to decide whether some things belongs to common because they're used everywhere, something belonging to their own page that you're gonna be creating. So you're gonna have to make that kind of decision and move your test. Just keep that in mind. Like this is how it's supposed to be. Everything that I did so far was done from scratch. So you shouldn't, if you have any issues, you can go back to the video. Struggle just like me. I struggled just now before even creating this. I had 3 or 4 different errors before even getting it to work, right? So you're gonna go through the same. Let me just go and see if the test runs fine. And then we're gonna do another one, a few more. We got a few more test cases. So we're gonna be fine. Okay. Let me just redo this real quick.
Basically, every time when we'll create the action and locator, it will be the same name, or we can given the different name for action and class.
So in page object pattern, you have to follow the, it's not like what exactly we all do. We'll have to make sure that we are, naming based on pages, right? And then each page will have their own, there will be tests. Like for example, in this case, request a code page may have, well, let me go back. So this is maybe like request a code page, for example, right? It may have 20 test cases, which is going to be here because they're all for request a code. Now, for those 20 test cases, you may have, locators that may be like 20 or 30, 30 locators, which is going to be here. For action, you may have different actions. Maybe you're going to verify something. Maybe you're going to go ahead and click on something, whatever is the case, right? So you're going to be writing it this way. Okay, this is a much more cleaner way. And let's say you have another page, which is, okay, think about this way. Login page, you have 30 test cases, is going to have 3 different files. No question about it, right? You have a sign up page, it's going to have 3 different files. No question about it. It's because why? Because sign up is going to have a lot of test cases, right? Then let's say maybe like, okay, let's talk about Amazon. Let's say you're just looking for products, right? And you're verifying the right product is displaying, and it could be variation of products. So then that's going to be three different files for that as well, right? So you're going to divide again. The reason why it says page object pattern or model is because page by page, you're basically organizing everything by page. Okay, I hope that makes sense, but we can probably go back to the definition a little bit and kind of like, you know, understand a little bit better. Okay, so again, the purpose of page object pattern, you guys understand, because that's an interview question. You know, why do we use page object pattern and things like that? It's because if you have a huge amount of test cases and you have to be able to structure them, optimize them, so that way you can easily create new test cases and maintain them. The idea is that in the future, when I am writing new test case, I don't have to rewrite this again. Okay, this I can call it wherever I want to call. If I write another test case, I don't have to rewrite this again. I can just call this if I need to, right? Same thing for contract us page. If I'm writing another test case that deals with this kind of, you know, things that I don't have to do it again, I just call them, right? So so what's going to happen over time when you work in a team, you wrote maybe 2,000 test cases, and now if they give you, like, let's say here's 20 test cases that you have to write, the chances of you having 80% of the 20 test cases already done is high, because you're going to go back and you're going to see what are existing methods, right? These are the methods, actually action methods that we created. You're going to see what are the existing stuff that you can use rather than creating new code. You shouldn't be creating new code. The encouragement here is that you don't create new code if it's already there. So you're going to be reusing this method as much as possible. And then if you feel like this piece of code should be used somewhere else again, then you create a method and leave it there, and somebody else will use your code as well. So the reusability becomes really, really high. Therefore, when you write a new test, it's going to be significantly faster, 80% faster than writing a test from scratch. Okay, so if you're writing 20 test cases of the same feature, then it's going to be what? Like every time you write it, after writing the first test case, it's going to be, you're going to be using at least 80% of that test for everything else, right? Now, if I'm keep saying feature, I just want everybody to, you know, kind of familiar with the word feature. What is the feature means to you? Let's see, what should I ask this? Jaidul, what does feature means to you in an application? Can you hear me? Okay, Evelina, what does feature means to you?
I guess like a set of functionalities.
Right. So for example, a customer being able to search for a product in Amazon, because it's not necessary that they will go ahead and buy it or without looking. So they're browsing, searching itself is a feature. A customer is able to log in to their account. It's a feature. The reason why it's a feature is because there is multiple outcome and multiple, you know, action can be done by the customer. There is multiple flows, and these are scenarios. A feature can have 20 scenarios, 30 scenarios, 40 scenarios, depending on the feature itself, right? So that's what I'm saying. So you can actually, because it's a spec right here, spec, So if you, obviously you're not familiar with spec flow, which is another design pattern, where instead of doing page by page separation, they do feature by feature separation. So if I'm writing page, we could have just said spec, right? Like feature basically. Spec means feature. So we could have done in that way too, to separate the action and locator and test itself based on a specific feature. In this case, we're doing it with page. That means you will put, things belongs to login page into their own pages, and then sign up page will have their own, and so on, right? So I hope this clarifies, because I want to make sure everybody understands, because we're going to be working with 20 test cases to do that, and you have only 2 days, okay? Everybody understood so far, right? Things that I'm talking about, okay? Just keep in mind, guys, and this is what I was saying, that things will just go deeper and deeper and deeper until everybody's like, oh, okay, we just, you're gonna be numb to this kind of struggle. And I'm gonna try to give you as much struggle as possible, because that's the only way to learn coding.
I'm
Right?
sorry,
If you,
Jamal.
Can you explain
Um,
one
can
more
you-
scenario?
yeah, we're gonna do one more clean. I mean, I guess we're gonna do all of my test case cleanup anyways, right? So that way you guys can see a bit more better way. I can create maybe another, 3 different files, and we'll go from there. So at least you'll have more than one ways to learn. Evelina, you had a question?
Yeah, I was basically trying to ask if we could do one more, but just like really slow. I get it,
Yeah,
but I just want to like really drive it home.
Okay, yeah, no worries. I'll do that. All right, but everybody understands feature, right? To make sure. So that's a pretty important thing, and it's because what I'm talking about, page and feature, I just want you to picture that you could do either ways. And all right, so let's go ahead, and so this was done, right? We just did contact us test this way. Okay, I think you guys make sure you guys can hear me. Can you guys hear me? Everything's good,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay. All right. So let's go back to our 2 files, right? So remember, page object is a file, action is a file, and page object is a folder, action is a folder, and the locator is a folder. Okay. We are classifying or grouping things that belong to wherever they should be belonging to, right? So let's look at my next test and see where it should be belonging to. So contact us actually should be belonging to contact us page. So I will change this to contact us, because so that way we can actually do the other ones, because this is truly just for contact us page, right? So I'm gonna change the name just to make sure that we are, we don't have confusions. So I'm gonna say contact us page for the action, and you see where it says update import for so whenever you get this kind of prompt, it's saying that I noticed that you changed the name of the file, but this file is used some places. Do you want me to also update those as well? And my answer is yes, as always, right? So I can do always, or I can do yes, right? So in this case, I'll do yes, because it's safer to say yes than always, because I want to be in control, right? I don't want it to just go and automatically update things that I don't want to. So far so good. Action was updated. Then locator, I'm gonna go ahead and update the same way, rename it, and it's gonna be contact us page. Okay.
So here I have a question.
Mhm.
So this is the file you created under locator and action only for contact us, right? So in that file,
Yes.
we can add other features also, or only have to have just only one feature, like for each, like contact us, like
It's only for
login.
contact us page. That's it.
Okay.
If you work for a company that has a lot of checks and balances, meaning like they have a person who actually checks your code and things like that, then they would prefer, even if you have one locator, they would prefer to have separate pages for separate features, right?
Okay.
Sorry,
Okay.
feature or
Gotcha.
page, right? Whichever way you're going. So at this point, I'm gonna say yes because I know what I'm saying yes to. But if I didn't know, I would basically say no and manually update, right? But in this case, I know what it's trying to do. So now we got that. We got the contact us page as well. So we see the name hasn't changed. I'm gonna change those as well. So now if I run my test, it's not gonna work because we changed the names and stuff. And now you see, like we need to change the name of the class, right? So I'm just gonna say contact us page. Okay, that's that. And then you'll see a class name always starts with uppercase. Okay, so make sure you keep that in mind. Class name always gonna be uppercase. Okay. And then request a code, it should be changing to contact us locator, okay? So, you know, the easiest thing you can do, if you're in a page, look, if I click on it, it highlights, right? It highlights everything that is there, right? I'm gonna right click, I'm gonna say change all occurrences, and I'm gonna say contact us locators, okay? And magically everything changed. Okay, so this is fine. This is everything is gonna work now. See, even the locator has changed, and we are pretty much good to go. I'm gonna go back to the contact us page for the locators. Notice like request a code still there, so I'm gonna just change this. So I can do the same here. I can say change all occurrences. And then we're good to go. So we made the appropriate change. So I'm kind of going by the book at this moment, so that way, you know, everybody get the right idea. So we just changed everything because the test that we updated, the whole reason why we, you know, like made this change after the fact is because we realized that the test actually only on contact us page, okay? And so that's it. Notice like this was updated automatically by VS Code, so I don't have to touch that. Everything else is good. If you request a code, this is a variable, and this is a variable, so I'm gonna have to change that. Okay, so I'm gonna say contact us. So, okay, okay, wherever that is, okay, I'm gonna highlight that. I'm gonna say all occurrences, and I'm gonna say contact page, and done. You see, all the contact us page was changed. Okay. So now there is a discrepancy. I'm gonna make that uppercase so I know the difference between. Oh, okay. I made a mistake with the spelling. Okay, so I gotta fix that. Okay, so now if I right click and find all, okay, I'm gonna say change all occurrences. Okay, contact us page, and that's it. All changed. But the thing is that this is a function from VS Code, so it didn't know what this means. This has to be different than this, okay? So now that we know, we just have to make sure that we update this, right? So it's gonna be uppercase contact, and then we're gonna use this guy uppercase. So now this and this guy are the same, and we should be still good to go, okay? So not only that we learn how to organize our tests and fix it based on page object model, we also learn how to update existing tests with different names if we require to, but we're gonna do one from scratch in a bit. So just make sure that we are, let me just go ahead and make sure my test passes, because my test, if it's not passing, then we have a problem. Let me go back to the definition and see if there is a reason why this is going to not pass, right? So let's go contain this, okay, that's good. I'm gonna get rid of my thing, UI thing. I'm gonna go ahead and run it. I'm gonna look for this specific test, agent center contact us. I'm gonna run it. I just wanna make sure my test passes before even doing anything. So notice like it says scroll by, it cannot find it for whatever reason. I need somebody to help me with this. Who should I ask? What is the problem that could be? Remember, as a programmer and as an engineer, there is not a support person, or there is not going to be a help desk coming in and saying, oh, okay, let me fix it. So in this case, Who can help me fixing this issue right now? Let me ask somebody, and see who can tell me the exact problem. Okay. And I can give you like a clue. I can show you the class right here, and you can find the clue as you can see. Scroll body is coming from this guy, but then why is it not reading, right? Okay, so let's see who can. Jian, can you want to give it a try? Why is my scroll body not working, right?
I'm sorry, Joe. I really have to go through this video like again.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm sorry.
no problem, no problem. Who else can? Okay, so notice this. Obviously, I made a spelling error right there, but we're gonna go as this. We can fix this. Copy. You're trying to call a locator, and that locator has to be called this way because it's inside of the locator folder, right, or file. So now if I run my test and see what happens, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and rerun this real fast. Did it update? Expect is not, oh, okay. All right, cool. Now I get it. Read the thing, right? Expect is not defined. Who can help with this?
Need to go back to the
Right
action.
here.
Yeah.
And if I go back to my test right here, notice like, oh, look at that, import something, and then we have the export, right? We have the export right here. Sorry, expect right here. All I gotta do is copy this, okay? And I'll leave this, I don't need the expect here anymore, so I'm gonna leave that alone. All I need is the test because we're using the test, right? I wanna go back to the action class. Go ahead and paste that here. And I'm only gonna keep the expect, okay? Because we want to be able to use expect, which is now has the access, right? So actually scroll body should work because this is already a header. I'm gonna try it this way first. Okay, this is already getting this, so it should be fine. I'm gonna go and run this real fast. Okay, good. So now this worked and we're on the next one. The next one is says page is not defined, right? Okay, so remember we talked about it. Page is coming from here. So it should be this, right? So everything should be this dot page. Okay, I mean, I had an easy solution to not even use the word this if we put it into a global. If I say, you know, like global dot, you know, something, then it will, but we're not gonna go into that. That's not the safest. So I'm gonna say this. And this also, this. What does this mean? You guys know that, right? In JavaScript, this means the current object. One second. Let me run it real fast. If it works, then we go into the next one. Okay. And we never go into the next line of code unless you're in a good standing. So everything is working, as you can see. It waited for everything came in. Okay. And the test passed. So now we can clean up our next test. So let's start from scratch all over again for the next test case. Just look at the test case, guys. You know, like, isn't it so like, you know, simple and easy looking? So now who can tell me that if, like, for example, a scroll body doesn't belong to contact us page, right? Because that should be the main. For example, the going into this URL doesn't belong, right? Because it's a visit homepage, so that should be for homepage, right? So we should have one for homepage, even action and locator. So we should be able to move this to its own, you know, but because we just started, we should probably do it as we go, right? As we working with our test, we should probably do that. But anyways, so in this case, notice we have before, remember we wrote this test and before even doing anything, we're scroll body and all that stuff. So notice what we can do, in this case. We can reuse, we don't have to write this anymore. The first two lines from here is gonna be, the first two lines right here is gonna be same. So I'm gonna go ahead and copy this. I'm gonna go back to our test and I'm gonna go ahead and paste it here. Okay, and then we need to import just like this. I'm gonna copy this also. I'm gonna go ahead and paste it here. And now we are good to go. We got these first before. This is how the before each page looks like. And then we're gonna go into the test, right? So so the test itself, we can see, let's see which page we're dealing with in this case, right? It's a true request to code, right? This is the first page that we're doing, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and name it request to code as a feature, okay? So, and then I'm gonna also create one for homepage so we can move things for homepage as well. And we're gonna put common things common, okay? So the first one is the locator. I'm gonna say new file, okay? I'm gonna say request, and I'm going slow. Let me know if I go fast. Requested code, okay? Dot, and it's maybe like page. You can give name again. You don't have to say the word page, but it's preference. So requested code page, which is gonna be empty for now. Action is gonna be the same thing. New file. Request a code page.js, also same thing. So we got two of this file right there. And I'm gonna go ahead now move things that belongs to request a code page. And I'm also gonna move things belongs to homepage, but we can probably do that later. I don't want to confuse anybody. So now request a code page. First, let's go ahead and bring in the locators. And let me go see this test. So request a code page has locator, for example, a locator with a name, first name by label, right? Those are the ones, right? So we can basically call those as we need. So let's go ahead and do that. And obviously it's not crazy enough, but imagine like you had a crazy locator, so you'd be able to move those as well. Okay, request a code page. Where's my locator? Okay, right here. And I'm gonna type this const the variable, right? And I'm gonna say request a code page. And then I just have to do a closing for my curly brace and it's done. I will then say, in order for me to use it, I will have to do module exports. That's the only time I would be able to call it. So I'm gonna have to export it so I can import it over there, right? So that's the communication between files, right? Where you're calling things. Now, the first locator that we want to bring in from here is gonna be the name, right? So I can say, I'll just take the name from here. Okay, Control C. Locator right there. I'll paste it first so I can name it properly. Request a code. Okay. Link, right? Or request a code link is this. This is request a code link basically. And then we will be able to move more things, but let's create, one at a time. So I go back in here. I realize that I gotta see how I can group them into functions, right? I shouldn't just do one line and function and color it day, right? It shouldn't be the case. So let's read and understand what this line is doing. The first line is making sure it's visible. Okay, it's using expect to see if the link is there. Then it's clicking on the link. Okay, so these should be together, right? Clicking on the link, it basically verifies link exists before clicking it. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and move that out of here. Control C and I move it out of here. And I will go ahead and go to my action. And now I have to create, you know, again, constructor and all of that stuff. Okay, so it's gonna look like repetitive, but you know, you gotta do what you gotta do to make it more reusable. So now you have page the same way. Oh, page, and then I'm gonna tab it, and then it automatically gives me Playwright. That's what we're looking for, const. And then I'm gonna say, instead of, you see how it says contact us, now we're gonna say request a code. See if it types it for me. Okay, there we go. Request a code locator. I believe that's the one. No, that's not the one. Okay, so I'm gonna request a code page. Locators is equal to require. I'm not gonna trust what it's giving me. I'm gonna go ahead and type it myself. So I'm gonna like not really, you know, so if I do a slash, it says, boom, what do you want? Do you want action? Do you want locators? So in this case, I want locators because I'm already in action. And then it says, oh, do you want request a code? Do you want contact? Do you want comments? I'm gonna take this. So notice like I didn't trust what it gave me automatically because, you know, it has to be linked properly. As you can see, it's now linked to the right module, right? So we were able to call it. So now I'm gonna create a class. And if you're wondering why is it typing it for me, because it has the Copilot. It realizes what I'm about to type and types it for me automatically. You can you can see most of the work is done already here. So I'm gonna go ahead and paste it. I don't need this, right? I don't need this stuff. I only need this. Okay, and now I can go ahead and paste, right? So I'm gonna say async. Instead of visit homepage, I'm gonna create a new one to say click on, what is it? Request a code. Yeah, request a code link. And look, it's typing it for me, which is kind of annoying sometimes, but I don't want to type it for me. I just pasted the code, right? So we just created a new function inside of request a code. Now this is not going to be used just yet until you export it. Okay, so you have to export and then you will be able to import it. But before we do that, we have to also make sure that we do the expect. The page is coming from there. Okay, let me, actually, I should be able to take the same exact, I should be able to take this guy, Control C, and put it into my action. So because that has expect also already, right? No, but this is that has page. No, page doesn't. Okay, so pages only belongs to. Okay, so that should be there, and then from here we only take expect. Okay, and that's it. So you need both, right? You need to have page and you need to have import. Just keep that in mind. Now that we have this, actually 3 things sorted out, we have this guy right here probably working, but remember this dot page. So whenever you see page, it has to be this dot page, this dot page, and we are now good to go. So now remember, request a code is actually coming from this guy. So I'm gonna go ahead and copy this, and this is the name, so I don't need to I'm gonna paste it like this, dot request the code link, and then we're good to go. And then we don't even need this either. Okay, because this belongs to somewhere else. It came from somewhere else. Okay. So far, so good. We have the locator. Sorry, we have the locator for request the code page here, which is request the code. We gave it a name. We then went back to our request the code page action class, and then we're just using it. Okay, we're just using it here. Now we're going to use this, right? So we go back to my test. This one. Remember, we took it off from the first two line. I'm gonna go back to show you guys. Okay. Okay, these two lines was just to click on it, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and remove this, and I'm gonna say await, and I'm gonna say like in this case, remember this is already initiated. I'm gonna make it into maybe I'm gonna have to call this. So if I was to call this, I cannot just simply you know, this is not belonging to, so for example, let's say contact us page. So if I copy this and paste it here, you see it doesn't know, right? So let's see contact us page dot, you see it doesn't know what's going on here, right? Because this is declared inside of the before hook, and this guy do not have access, okay? So now what I have to do is that instead I will be declaring this outside, okay? And I'm gonna be assigning the value inside, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and Control C there. And I'm gonna declare outside of my test. So all of my tests that are in the same group can have access to the word, access to the contact us page. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and put let, okay? It's not gonna be let this, and then I no longer need this guy to be declared because it's the same one, okay? So now this contact us page variable is accessible by anybody, any test, okay? More than just one test. I put it up there, no assignment. I put it inside, I assign a value. I don't have to redeclare because it's declared here in terms of what kind of variable that is, okay? I will now have access to what I need, which is the clicking on the link. Okay, this is the very first test. Very first method. The next one is to go into the next page and filling out all this information. So I'm gonna go ahead and copy everything. I am going to now create just one line here and just say async verify request a page. Okay, the Control D, all of that request a page. So verify request a code page. So I just have to say like this is the first page, right? Okay. So we're gonna say verify request a code page. We're gonna say first page. First page. That's it. We're just verifying the very first page, and that's it. So now that I have this here, obviously I'm gonna move the locators to the locators location, which is right here. But now I'm gonna go back to my test. I'm gonna say, okay, all of these can get out of here, right? Because it's done. It can move, right? So I can just go ahead and why am I still using contact us? There should be, did I just write the test in contact us? No, okay. So, okay, if I run the test, it's not gonna work. I don't know why I have contact us here, right? This should be a request a code, right? Request a code page, and this should be request a code also. See, request a code for the object action. So everything else needs to be changed. Control C. Request this one, I'm gonna leave it uppercase. And then Control C, this one is the only one that gets this, and then everything else like lowercase needs to be changed. So I'm gonna go ahead and change that, change all occurrences. I'm gonna say request a code page, okay? So I changed all of it, and this should be now working. So I'm just like, I messed up with the names, right? So I have to make sure that I am calling the right one, not another class, right? So I have to call the right class. I have to name them properly. So now I have, ooh, okay. Now I see why I called it gas. Hold on, right there, Control Z. I'm gonna go back, okay? So we can show you guys, okay? Contact us. Contact us, okay. I'm just gonna go back for a second, okay. All right, the reason is because we're still using contact us page to go to the homepage, right? So we're gonna have to rename this, right? Because that should actually belongs to this actually should belong to common, right? So I'm gonna just go ahead and move things to common. Okay, so you see like visiting and these two should move to common, right? So I'm gonna so in this case, this is gonna be common calling and then common page, right? And then this two is right there. And then common page. So we're just gonna call the common page for these two. I'm gonna go back and do cleanup of both of these tests, okay? So now all I have to do is Control C, Control V, and I'm gonna find my common right here, common page. And I'm gonna go ahead and call this right here, COMM common. And I'm gonna need one more. Control C. Notice my test is spelling behind it, right? So it's okay. All right. So just go ahead and Control C. Okay, common, and it's gonna name it as common page. Okay, now so visiting homepage should be part of the common page. Okay, remember we talked about it. And I'm gonna go ahead and copy these. B, and we good. And then I'm gonna copy this and this. Okay. So now we have these two import, right? So we're using something from contact us page and we're using something from the common page. Okay. So visiting is this. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove the items that are inside of the contact us page. Like for example, these two. These two shouldn't be here. And I'm gonna go ahead and remove that. And then we also have to have a common, this is the action, okay, that's good. You see how the locators, so now we have to move the locators from this guy, which is, contact us page. We just have to take this and have a common as well. So I'm gonna just name this common page. That's that. And then you see the only thing we need is this guy. Address belongs to something else. You scroll by, I think the only one that we need. And then we'll put the locator. So we got the common locators. And so now I will go back to the contact us. We don't need this here because we moved it, remember? And then I'll go back to the action for common. And we just have to, you see like how we're calling. We just have to rename this to common locator. So COM common locators. And then all you have to do is change this. Saved, and that should probably trigger it to run again automatically. Let's see what's the deal with our test. Boom. Okay, this test passed. Okay. All right, so we did quite a few cleanup. I know I'm probably confusing everybody because I have to do the cleanup. So I'll do one more test after this so you guys can feel better. So this test is all cleaned up. Here we got now we have to call the common, right? So we're gonna say common page. Remember how we called it over there? And we're gonna say common page, and this is gonna be common page, and let's go ahead and replace this common page. We're assigning value here, and this should be uppercase common page. And this is the only reason. And then this guy we're using right here. Okay, so the comment is all sorted out. The next one is it contact us? No. We're gonna have to basically get it from const, not the contact us. We're gonna have to say request a code, right? I think request or request a code page right there. Oh, what am I doing? Okay. Request a code, it's right there. Okay. And then require, request a this and that, right? Page object actions, request a code. It's all red, already included the name, blah, 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 whatever is the case, differ from. Okay, so just want to make sure that is the right one. We got the action. And then we have request, oh, goodness. This, and you can see request a code. Okay, so we got that request a code right there. So I'm gonna also declare here. I'm gonna say request a code page. So I got that all done here. I'm gonna go ahead and now use this, right? This guy. So assign a value to the request a code. So since I'm using here, I'm gonna say request a code is equal to new request a code. The reason why it typed it for me is because it learned what I did for the previous one, and it just did it again. So now I just have to reuse this, and that's it. Okay. That's just one test case. This is the before, right? It's using from the common, because this is going to be true for any test, right? We're going to be using this for any test. Now this is my other test. I'm gonna do the same thing. Maybe we'll create one test from scratch and do this because it's pretty important. Okay, how many people are confused and how many people think that they're good to go? I'm gonna run the test too to make sure it's all good.
Confused, sorry.
Okay, no worries.
Confused too.
My question is why we create the comment? Because we create a
Confused.
different name with contact us and request a quit, but I don't understand why you use the comment section.
Right. So when you work for a company, you will find yourself sometime that some things do not belong to a page, right? Because they are used everywhere. You cannot say this is like for only like home page and this is for only, you know, login page, whatever is the case. You cannot like pinpoint that. And it's because you have to put in a comment, right? Because you're now using it everywhere in every page, right? You're calling it everywhere you need to. So that's when you're gonna have a common you know, file that will be used. Right? So this is actually at work, we do it that way. Right? We're trying to see what's the deal here. Test. It says, okay, let's see. And before syntax, let. Okay, let is the problem, 9 right there. So I will go ahead and copy this, and it didn't like the let inside for whatever reason. I'm gonna go ahead and paste it right here. Okay, now it's good. Okay, I just put it outside. So now these two guys are accessible by anything and everything in this, you know, file. Okay. So it depends where you put your variable. It's going to be accessible in different situations. So now that I have access to those, if I run the test, as you can see, it already, okay, it was upset. So let's see, I'm going to run it one more time. Did I save this? Okay. Missing semicolon. Oh, okay. What am I missing semicolon? Okay, let's see. Okay. Syntax, okay, so let's see where am I missing semicolon. Agent center, expected there. 9 and 9 to 8, okay. Best of describe is fine. Okay, I'm gonna reopen this because maybe this is not up to date code that it's using. So let me just go ahead and kill it. Okay. Let's run. Okay, so this is fine. You see, like, it's a common page. There is some error. Cannot find module. Okay, that's fine. That's a good sign, right? Common, it's not found. Okay, so that's fine. The page object, I'm gonna go ahead and the only way for us to see if it works, if you like type it and it kind of gives you the options where, you know, so I see there is no common page, but there is common, right? Only common. I should have named it as common page. So that's my bad. So now if I go ahead and run this, what will happen? Okay, let's see. Okay, so that's good. So far, so good. And then we can see that there are some issues. If there's any. Okay, so this one was fine. Maybe let's see. Okay, so one of the tests is fine, right? The other test is not fine. Verify if agent can click on a request a code, right? And I just need to see why. Type error. Okay, a request a code page is not a constructor. Okay, that's fine. Okay, that makes sense.
Do you
Request
also
a
have
code
to
page.
fix line number 11 since you changed to common instead of common page?
Yeah, that's probably it too, but let's see. No, because you see, I named it here common page. So this is this, right? So uppercase common,
Okay.
lowercase common page. So this guy's fine. Request a code page is not a constructor. That's strange because right, it is a constructor, but let's see. I'm gonna go back to request a code page of the action, and I can see who can tell me what mistake I made here, because everything else seems to be fine, but something is missing. I'm gonna give you guys 30 seconds to tell me what mistakes I made here.
So the under the below line, oh, we can need to write the module.
Exactly. We didn't export nothing, right? So that's why it cannot find it. Okay. Now, if I run this test, it should probably find it and work. Okay. And then it says page is not defined. Okay, like, oh, okay, I see. So I'm gonna go ahead and you see like how this is. I have to go and type this on everything actually. This dot page. So you see how many mistakes I made personally just now, right? And I'm still okay, right? I'm not saying, wow, this is, unacceptable. I shouldn't be making mistakes. When you're a programmer, when you write code, the chances of making it work on the first try is nearly zero because it's never going to work on the first try. We're only human. We basically face problems and we fix them as we go, right? So as a programmer, you should never like write 20 lines of code unless your first line works. Okay, so you go one line at a time, and you'll have to take your time to make sure it works, and then we move forward, okay? And because we made significant improvement to our framework, we have to also go through this kind of changes. If we did this improvement from day one, you wouldn't see the difference. So let's go ahead and run this now. And it's a good thing that we know how to debug now. We see how it's kind of telling us what's happening or what's the problem, and we're going back and fixing them. Isn't that great? You kind of have power to yourself at the moment, you know? And we're gonna have a test failure because of the human verification. But you know, let's see if I can manually verify this. No, it's not gonna happen. But okay, this test is expected to fail. Maybe if I run it again, it will not show it. I hope not. And then we should be fine. But other than that, what was I cannot find the common. Cannot find, okay, page. You see, it didn't even save because we saved this. Let me go ahead and save my save. Oh, not this one, this guy right there. I'm gonna just redo the reopen it because I don't know if I'm looking at the previous errors. Okay, so this is the only test that we've been having issues with. I'm gonna run it. And if there's a human verification, don't even bother trying to bypass it because that's not within our power, right? We will, at work, we will just ask developer to turn it off so we can continue to do automation testing. Okay, why is it taking longer? What? This is the next one. Boom, boom, boom. So let's see. Oh yeah, it's keep coming, but okay. Like I said, this human verification we cannot bypass. So I'm gonna leave the as far as this, right? But you should always try to avoid testing anything that has this, because at work we never face this kind of issue. All right, so now we have two tests. Notice like how big the test was. Now it's done. This one is saying verify that user can see company logo for nationwide and claim page, right? This is a payment and claim page, which is another page that I would have to create in order for me to move these to the other page, right? And this one is to just clicking. This belongs to common page, right? So I'm gonna move this to common because this one actually just to click on the home page. Action right here, and then I'm gonna start with A, S, Y, and C. Click on page. I'm gonna paste my code. Oh, Control Z. Okay, I didn't copy it properly, so I gotta go back. This test right here. This is the code. I'm gonna say X and remove it from there. Go back to the action. Sorry, common action. I'm gonna paste it here. So this is my code. Notice there is a locator, and this locator is the home page button, right? Whatever is the case, I'm gonna copy this and bring it to. I'm gonna take it out of here. I don't need to put it here. I will now put it into the common. I'm gonna say give it a name, homepage link or whatever, home page button, however I want to name it, you know, it's up to me. So then paste, this is it. Done, right? So I have the homepage button done. H probably lowercase. Go back in here. All I have to do is in here, common locators. And then dot, it should give me the option and I'm good to go, right? So I just organized my test a little bit better. And then this is click on homepage, so that's good. I will now go back to my actual test. Here, all I'm doing is await. and I gotta call the, if belongs to common page, so I'm gonna say common page dot click homepage, right? Even if you read the test, it makes a little bit of sense, right? Because you know you got the common on before and common after, because they are for every test anyways. Okay, let's see. I'm gonna go ahead and format the document. How many people are still like kind of confused? I can go over like a dry run to say what you have to do.
Yes.
Okay,
So-
so notice the test, right? Notice the test is so different. It's no longer, you'll never see page here just like this page anymore. You see how the test, this test looks so much better, so much better. You go back
Can you
to
read
this
the one
guy,
from the common page, the last one?
you see this one, so much better. You said to explain the comment page?
Yeah.
Okay,
In the
Alright.
test class, in the test class.
okay. We're here.
No, in the test class, you call
Where
the
is the test class? Okay, you're saying that common, wherever we're calling, right? We're calling on every test because it's common, right? There is like going and visiting
the last one.
this one right here. You want me to explain?
Yeah.
Okay. It's the same thing, right? So, oh, okay, I made a mistake here. Hold on a second. Common page and then click on home page. Okay, the reason why it's not showing because common page. Let's see. Control C. Okay, common page is there, and then dot. If I do a dot, it should give me everything that I created. Just click request a code now. Common page now. I thought I created one for homepage. Okay, let me go back to the action. Common. We have a click on homepage, right? That should show up. So if I go back in here, click on homepage. There we go. Okay. Click on homepage. So like, let's say if I run this test, I'm gonna go ahead and, so this thing doesn't work, right? Remember reCAPTCHA. So if I run my test now, it should work, and at the end, it should just click on the homepage. At the okay. Does it after down? Reference page is not found, right? So okay, let's go back. If I go back to this definition, it's not even found. Okay, and page is also not found. Page is already here. We actually don't even need the page, so. Okay. Okay. So look at the example. We got that. And page. Okay, so we got the after. So we got the, let's think there. Fine. We gotta put the page, which is still not. Oh, did I remove the page? No, but page is right here. Okay. Page. Okay, so test after each async page. For whatever reason, okay, so let me see. This is one closing right there. I'm probably not the. Okay, so test that. That feels good. I will move that up there actually, because it doesn't matter. Order doesn't matter where they are. I can put them together if I want to, just to make sure that they're fine. We got the comment page there. Okay. Why is it not reading this? Well, metadata when describe, maybe okay. So the problem is we may have to put the page here also. Nah. Page to declare but never used, but that's we got the page. Okay, why is this page is not reading? Because that's not what it's supposed to happen. That's the after. Oh, okay, I see. I see, okay. So Control C. Okay, now it makes total sense. There are two different blocks. The page has to be added here. Okay, that's good. Okay, so that's what you have to do. I can move it to down if I want to. Again, the order doesn't matter because this will run regardless at the end of each test. Okay. Save, and this should work now. After hook. Page is not defined. Okay, let me go to the strange one. This is the definition of page. Okay. Let's see what they say. Okay, just go to that's right there. Not a problem. For whatever reason, my after each doesn't work. Okay, so we'll take a look at the end. Don't want to put a lot of confusion here. We go ahead and run it. Now that I don't even have after hook, let's see if that creates more problem. Okay, that's good. And then I'll run this. Okay, both of them are working, which is fine. Okay, so we get back to after hook in a bit. So let me just quickly do a dry run, right? Which means I'm not writing any code, but I'm going to go through each file and folders to explain how you will be optimizing your test and moving them in different page or feature, naming the features based or page based, right? So we created a folder initially called page objects. You can actually name them whatever you want, right? You can actually say all like resources, like, I mean, anybody coming from Java background, they would name it resources because that's normally how in Java language, they would name things. So now that you have page objects, inside of page object, you have two other folder. One is action and one is locator. The way that I named it is very relevant to what they do, right? At work, it may not be the same name. It could be anything that they want to name with, right? Everybody agrees to a specific naming convention and they will follow that. Okay, so if you agree to a naming convention, then you will follow that with your coworkers. You're not gonna go and make the change overnight and say, look, this is how they showed us and it has to be this way. That's not the case. Everybody have their own ways, and you just have to go with what they have, not what you know, right? Unless you know for a fact it should be this, right? You can bring it up if you need to make any changes. Other than that, I wouldn't touch existing convention or code unless I know what I'm doing. Then you go into these files, right, folders, and you started seeing different, right? So you have one for locators where you put all the locators. Remember we talked about XPath, CSS, ID, class name, and all that stuff, right? You're gonna put it here, okay? And you're gonna give it a nice name, okay? And then you're gonna export it. And these should be used in your action class where you can maybe take those locators and do something with them, right? And then because you're in the class, you're gonna create these methods inside of the class, so you can call them wherever you want to call them later. So now you have, like, for example, I want to wait for a scroll by body. The code reflects that. Clicking on the home page, also the code reflects that. So you can probably have 20 lines of code that does something, and you can put it here and give it a nice name, so you can call it, right? So in this action, for example, click on homepage, or let's say visit homepage, you can see that visit homepage is being used because it's under common class, right? So it's being used right here, visit homepage, okay? And then you can see contact us page verifying all the things inside of contact is being used from those. Anybody have any question on the breakdown so far?
No.
Okay, it's pretty, like, for now, take that, like I said, I'm giving you guys bite-sized information, meaning I'm only giving you things that you can eat
So I have a
at
question.
the moment.
So why we don't
Mhm.
see the construction for request equate? Because we see that contact us page, common page.
Okay, you're gonna have to explain to me what you mean.
So actually, I'm looking for the we create another class that's request equate page.
Request a code page, right? So, okay, I see, I now understand. So request a code page, if you call it here, for what reason you want to call here? Because you don't need anything from request a code, right? This specific task only is for contact us page where it verifies contact us, and
Yeah,
it
yeah,
also
understood.
goes,
Understood. Thank you.
Mhm. Yeah. But if I needed something from the request page, I would include it here and I will call it. But I don't need anything from request page for this test, But now if I go into here, for this test, I need to request a page because that's where some of the, methods that I have that I want to use for the actions, and that's why I call them here. So now the homework will be all of your tests, you have 20. If you don't have 20, you should probably, like, you're piling up way too much work. All 20 test case, I need to follow the same convention. You need to, like, maybe the first one you'll struggle. If somebody actually does the first one, after that, you're gonna be like on a a steady mode to be able to do all 20. But the first one is gonna take you a while. So I suggest start sooner than later to get the first one at least, and then you can see how much time you're gonna need to do the remaining 19. So you're gonna group your test based on different actions. You're not gonna group everything at one and then just say, okay, done. One line, one test, right? You're gonna group them based on what they belong to, like what are the actions you are doing. So for example, clicking on the request a code page, right? If I go to the destination, okay, let me go into the request a code. You see all of that is inside of one name, right? And it's because I rushed it, right? It's because it's my fault, right? I'm rushing it. This should be broken into two because The first half is dealing with filling out information. So first half is just going into the page. So that should be one. Filling out information on the page should be the other one. And verifying that you actually went to the second page, that should be another one. So you should have three different methods. That's how you're gonna group them, right? You shouldn't be grouping like, oh no, I put everything and now I have it, right? So just keep that in mind. Obviously for the learning purposes, I didn't want to spend too much time. I put everything in one, but don't follow me in this case. Just group them logically, and then make it that way, like where like this filling out is one action versus verifying where you are is another action. Verifying that you went to the second page, and this is another, item. So you have to separate out in three different for this one. Any question? It's no longer fun, right? I mean, in the beginning, like you guys had so much fun doing, automated tests, and now it's getting on the boring part. Maybe now it's getting more on the, more like crazy part. And the way that you guys did initially, the wrote the test is not acceptable, right? Because it creates more work. It actually defeats the purpose of automation. You're creating manual test cases, if you really think about it, the way that you did initially. If you're doing it this way, let's say something has changed in your homepage. Okay, forget about a homepage. Let's say the login page, the URL has changed. All you have to do, go to your action and change the URL, and every other task will know what to do with it. That's the only location you change. You don't change it everywhere. Your homepage method is only one. Think about it. Maybe that this locator has changed, for example. All you have to do, go to your common, change the locator, this one, and that's it. That's all you have to do. Your test is good to go, right? Who here actually see the benefit of this? Not only that the test looks nice, but this is a real benefit, right? It's not just gonna be making it look nice, right? So now moving forward, if you go to work and they give you test, write test automation, not only that you're gonna use the recorder, you're gonna use the code gen, but then you cannot just simply copy paste anymore. You're gonna have to create methods and put the code into appropriate places. Okay? And that's the proper way. If you can do it that way, and let's say you join a company tomorrow and you're writing test automation, and if you do it this way, you're gonna be fine. You actually can assure yourself that you did right. You did it right. There is nothing else could have been done. Maybe obviously there are other ways, other design patterns, but this is the patterns that you followed, or this is the pattern that you chose because you're the one who created this, right? So there is a reason why you did that, to make it maintainable and reusable automation. And if the automation test takes longer to maintain, then it's no longer automation, right? It's you can call them manual, because now people have to spend so much time. It's supposed to reduce the time that it will take to update the test. Okay, it's already 9:42. If anybody has any questions before we finish for the day. And
Joe,
obviously I couldn't cover the GitHub, so I'll have to do it next time. Go ahead, Fabio.
yeah, Joe, we have to do the 20 test cases for actions and locators, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So all 20 doesn't mean you're gonna have to create 20 different, pages for all, right? Because your test case, probably like the first 10 belongs to one specific feature. Like, for example, if you create a login one, then you only need to create one action file and one locator file, and that's it, because it's just a login. If you are doing a sign up test, all of your test case will have only two, right? Because you're not creating each field by field, then it again defeats the purpose. It's too much work. Effort is greater than the benefit. So think about it, right? So if you have questions, you can post it in the group. But you shouldn't be like, let's say 20 test cases, then you have to create 20 files for locators and action, then it's crazy, right? As long as it's the same feature, you just create the same, same file for the action, same file for the locator, and you're good to go. Unless you're dealing with different features. So for example, if one test case you're dealing with, like let's say sign up, the other test case you're dealing with login, then you have to create two different, action, two different locators, files. If you're, if all your test case deals with the same exact functionality, you just keep it as, one file. Make sense?
Yeah, yes, you.
Okay, good. All right, it seems like no more questions, so we'll finish the day. Obviously, the homework, it shouldn't be a lot if you did it, if you did your 20 test cases, right? And then we're gonna probably go through the same way, the first 22. This time, the people that I didn't call, I'll just write the names that I called. So the next time, people that I didn't call, I'm gonna call, and also like randomly, I'll call people that I also called just to make sure there is, people do their work. So again, any question about the homework? Everybody is in line. You guys know what the homework is.
Is it due on Thursday?
Yes, it's gonna be due on Thursday because I don't see it's a lot of work, at least in my view. All you're doing is creating two different files and moving things around, copy and pasting. You're not creating a tab. You're moving things around, so you should be fine. Now, those who doesn't have 20 test cases, I still want you to do this, but like whatever test case you have, please do. Now, those who are struggling right now, let's say you're not the one who actually did homework number 3 and 2, and you still want to catch up and you don't want to get lost because the next class is going to be even more deeper. I would say go back to the previous classes. Do not ask anybody questions. Watch it until you are able to create your test. Just keep watching it or keep doing it until you create your test, or go back to playwright.dev and then follow the steps there until you create your test. Okay. That's the only way you'll learn. But if you ask somebody and they do it, then you'll get stuck again on the next class and you're going to continue to get stuck. It's better you learn it on the first one and then, do everything on your own. Yeah, that's my suggestion. Like I said, you'll probably, yeah, again, like if you're not able to write the test, then you got to spend a lot of time. I'm not even talking about 6 hours anymore. You got to spend a lot of time. And if you don't have that kind of time, then it's going to be a problem. And I'm not saying like you're required to, it's just that when you sit down and you face a problem, you don't know if it's going to take 2 hours to finish, or you don't know it's going to be 4 hours to resolve the problem. It could be a straightforward problem, but for you, it's new. It's the first problem that you're seeing. You'll Google it. You'll probably, use other sources to see what can you do. But I would say like at least feel comfortable with the first 2 homeworks. And if you did it somehow and you do this, then I would say just pay attention to what you're doing. The very first homework, the first 10 test cases that you guys did was to be able to write some test cases. The second was to be able to understand what you wrote. That means you actually wrote those yourself manually. And if you didn't write manually, then you actually at least went through the test cases to understand what they are. So you got 20 of those total. And now is to make sure that you're following a proper coding standard to write your test automation. After this homework, you should be able to be ready for the real world. But obviously we have a lot more things to cover they're going to go through, but at least you know what is normal and what is not normal, right? At least you know what is expected of you when you join as the automation person, right? And you can actually move things forward. All right. Like I said, if you guys have any questions, anything that you need, just post it in the group. If you're struggling with if you're struggling with like the very first one, my recommendation would be like go through the first, video that we created. Otherwise, if you get help from somebody, I'm just afraid that you're never gonna learn it, I think who raised the hand? 1 second. Somebody raised hand.
Hey,
Okay.
Joel.
Nadia, yeah.
Yeah, just needed, I think I showed you a video that I tried to run in, and for some reason, the only one that would show up was the example test. It wasn't showing the second one that I did. If I could just like show that to you after class.
Sure. I just want to make sure a few things for that, right? If you click on file, make sure it's autosave. And then also make sure your test should be inside of the folder, test folder. And if you want to create more folders, it has to be inside of the test folders. And then you have to make sure that your test has name like ending with .spec.js. Those 3 things has to be on point. Just check those and then send me a screenshot, and if not me, somebody will help you on the group.
Okay, got it.
Yep, that's good. All right, guys. I'll see you guys on Thursday. Good luck with the homework.
Thank you, Joe.
Thanks.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you. Thank you.